Boys and girls watching, we have been learning a lot about different creatures that God made. In our last lesson, what was the animal that we learned about? Think in your brain, don't yell at me. And let's see. Boys and girls watching, do you remember? Yes, it was ducks. The ducks were so cute, weren't they? And what was the daddy duck called, Luke? Do you remember? It was a name, kind of like a name for a boy or a daddy. Do you remember? It was a...
Duck.
Almost. A drake. Say drake.
Say.
Drake. Good job. I could tell you were trying. Good job. What was the daddy duck's name?
Drake.
A drake. And what the mommy, how did God make her? He made her so special. What did he give her? What kind of feathers?
Brown.
Why? So that she could be what?
Camouflage.
Camouflage, so she could protect her what?
Eggs.
Eggs. And what kind of animal is a duck?
A bird.
A bird, that's right. And so we're going to talk today about another bird. Now, we've seen this bird before. When we had our other card that showed all kinds of different birds, we were looking at the robin with its pretty blue eggs, and we were looking at the cardinal. And what was that bird that likes to sound like this?
Woodpecker.
A woodpecker. Remember, he had a red hood. His feathers on his head were red, so he was called the red-headed woodpecker. And we learned lots of different animals. There was even one that goes, hoo, hoo. What was that one? An owl. Those were all birds. But there was one on there that God made that was really, really tiny. Think in your brain what that was. Oh, I said think in your brain so I could call on you. Think. Boys and girls watching, what was that? Hummingbird. Good. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the hummingbird. Now, when you see a hummingbird in real life, is it this big? No, it actually is really tiny. Do you see this nest right here? And you see this one right here? We have this blown up this way so you could see the nest. But do you see this picture right here? That's really how tiny that the hummingbird's nest is. It is that tiny. Look at that. It is so tiny. It is so tiny because the hummingbird is tiny. What is the big bird that God made?
Ostrich.
An ostrich. Well, that's the big bird. But as big as the ostrich is as tiny as the hummingbird. And we're going to talk about this hummingbird today. Look at this hummingbird right here. Do you see, is he holding on to anything?
No.
No, he is just using this right here. What is this called? His what?
Bill.
It's called a bill. It's called a bill. It's a bill. And so his bill, he likes to use it like a straw. He can stick his nose, his bill, down inside that flower, and he can suck the nectar that's inside, the nectar. And the nectar is like almost like when we use a juice box. When you take a straw and you pop it in your juice box and you drink, it's so good, isn't it? So it's like that. It's like he's using his straw and he's popping it into that flower and he's going to drink all that nectar. What's inside of there? The nectar. Now, he is not holding on anything to do that. He's not holding on to that flower. He's just in the air. How does he do that? It's because, yes, he's hovering. He is hovering. What is it called? Hovering. It's kind of like a helicopter. He's almost like a helicopter because the helicopters, when they fly, they can fly and just hover in the air like this. A jet or an airplane can't do that. It has to be moving in the air because if it just stood like this, and if the pilot stopped flying and just stood right here, it would go because it can't hover like a helicopter can. And so that's why they say that a hummingbird is like a helicopter because it will hover. It doesn't have to hold on to anything. Other birds, don't they? They have to, like, when they go to a hummingbird nest or a hummingbird feeder, they have to, they don't have to hold on. But when other birds go to feeders, sometimes people will make little houses or little feeders that you can have outside your window, and they have to hold on. There has to be like a little porch or something for them to hold on to, but not the hummingbird. He can go right to a hummingbird feeder and just hover around it. He doesn't have to hold on, and he could eat the little seeds and things that are there. And that's what he does. He just hovers, and he just sucks out that nectar right out of there. Now, what does he use to get around in? How does he get through the air with his what?
Wings.
Yes, his wings. God gave him his wings. And that's what makes that sound. When you hear that sound, if you get real close to a hummingbird, it almost sounds like a helicopter from the propellers of a helicopter because the wings are going so fast. And that's how he is being able to hover over the flower, over a branch. He can even just hover right over his nest and protect it and make sure that nothing is coming to try to eat the little eggs because they're so tiny. Do you know they are as tiny as a pea? Does mommy ever make you peas, those green vegetables that are round like a little ball? Those are called peas. And that's how size of a hummingbird egg. Isn't that cool, boys and girls watching? So maybe tonight when you have dinner tonight, maybe mommy will make you peas and you can say, Mommy, this is the same size as what kind of bird? A hummingbird egg. That's the size of a hummingbird egg. Isn't that so fun? It is. And so the hummingbird is such a special little bird that God made. God made normal sized birds. God made that great big bird. God made some birds have beautiful different color feathers like a parrot or that red robin or the woodpecker. And then some God gave brown colors or just different simple colors to keep them camouflaged to keep the eggs protected. God's ways are perfect, isn't he? And he knew that we would like to see that tiny little tiny bird. Sometimes you might see it fly by you and you might think it was a bug because it was so tiny that flew by you and it goes so fast. But it could be a hummingbird. You'll have to check it out and look. Like I said, I've told you before, I got to go to Canada this summer. And when I was in Canada, we walked around this beautiful garden. And it had lots of different flowers and different trees. And there were lots of little hummingbirds just flying around. I'd never seen a real hummingbird before. And at first, it sounded like maybe bumblebees were around. But when you got closer, you could see those little birds. And they really do hover. They just like that. They just right over a little flower. And and I could see them trying to drink that nectar right out of the flower. It was so neat to watch. So maybe you could, as a project, maybe on a Saturday or something, you and your mommy could work together and make a hummingbird feeder. And you could find out all the yummy things that hummingbirds like. And then you could hang it outside your window or by a tree in your front yard. And then maybe a hummingbird will come and hover over that feeder and you could see a real hummingbird. Oh, it is so pretty, but it just sits there so fast and then off it goes. But it's so pretty and it's just so tiny. What size are the eggs? The size of a what?
A pea.
A pea, a little tiny green pea, that's right. And his nest is so tiny, it would fit right here in the palm of your hand because it's so tiny. It wouldn't even come over on the other side. Sometimes you hold things and it's so big in your hand. Not a hummingbird nest. If you found a hummingbird nest, it would just sit right here inside of your hand. It's this size right here. Look at that. It's almost the size of like a 50-cent piece. Have you ever seen a 50-cent piece? It's like a great big quarter. It's just bigger than a quarter, and it's worth 50 cents. That means it's worth 2 quarters. It's almost only that size. It's really tiny because the hummingbird is tiny, and the eggs are tiny, so they don't need a great big nest. They just need a tiny little nest for them to live in. Oh, I'm so glad that we can learn about God's animals that he made, that he created. Maybe sometime when we pray and thank God for animals, we could remember the hummingbird. And boys and girls watching, if you get to see hummingbirds at your house, how neat. Maybe if you're quick enough, you could take a picture of it and you could send it to us so that we could see the hummingbirds that live where you live.